Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my video for the first YouTube birthday for Created by Gwen. So we were set a challenge to make a layout in the signature style of Gwen, and that was to use 5 things, of which I'll list them in just a moment. I actually challenged myself to use 6 things because I noticed when I had a look at Gwen's YouTube channel, she does something called Maggie Holmes Monday. And I thought it would be a good idea to dig through my stash, of which you can see a little bit of it in front of me. These are all Maggie Holmes papers and embellishments. To be honest, I was a little bit embarrassed how much Maggie Holmes I'd got that was untouched, so I thought it was a perfect extra little challenge for myself to use for this layout. I picked a photograph of my daughter with my husband on a carousel, and it's a square photo, which is the first of the criteria for Gwens Signature Style. One of the other criteria is to use pattern paper, possibly as your background, so that's something else that I wanted to do. And I've chosen these 2 here. The yellow one is Willow Lane, it's the B-side of Flutter, and the pink scallop is from Carousel, it's called Starbright. I also like this ticket paper with the perforations, and I started to pick out a few that will go with the colour scheme. So I'm tending to go with pinks and yellows, because they're the colours in the photograph that you can pick out in the carousel horse. So that's initially what I'm drawn to and what I'm going to look for as I work my way through some of this stash. So let me talk a bit more about Gwen's signature style. So we were given 5 things to look at. So a square photograph was one, to use a cut file as another, as Gwen is from Cut to You, a cut file company. Use pattern paper, preferably as a background. Layered clusters, so I'm aiming to do one big layered cluster all the way down this page, and stitching is another. So they were the 5 things we were challenged to do, and as I say, by using Maggie Holmes paper, I've challenged myself to a 6th thing, which is not a problem as I've got quite a bit of it to go through there. So this is Carousel that I've been looking at mainly, and I think Chasing Dreams, this is the pad, 6x6 pad, and I find the word August on one of the calendar pieces, and this photograph was taken on a holiday in August in Ilfracombe in the south of England, so I thought it would be perfect to include the word August. I went off and printed my photograph again. I wasn't sure if I wanted it a little bit smaller, and I change it in and out, but actually I think the big one wins. I think it's easier if I trimmed the paper on the right, so I got more of an idea of the perspective of the 12x12, and I actually with scissors cut down the scallop of the paper on the right. Even though I cover most of it up, at least I know I did it. So that's what I'm looking at now, is actually placing bits and pieces. There's chipboard and there's die cuts and stickers, so I'm just having a look. I want to like a bit of a waterfall effect, so this would be obviously the layered cluster. I absolutely love the zebra that was on the carousel chipboard. I think it's absolutely perfect for this layout. I can't imagine using it on anything else. It just reminds me of all the different animals you could sit on when you get to a carousel, when you have to make that choice. And as a child, the debating over what I always wanted to be on one of the taller ones, so usually it was a horse or a zebra or a unicorn or something like that. And yes, it brings back lots of memories. So I've just brought in the word fun there that I cut on the silhouette. I cut it with a background as well, so I'm going to add yellow behind it so you can see through the dots, and I'm going to add that in to my cluster. So that's another one of the criteria of Gwen's signature style. So I had a look through some more of my stash, and I found some of the bloom range, the tassels there on the right there from Gather, but luckily all the colours seemed to go really well together, so it didn't really matter. I had some Flourish, that's slightly different, more autumnal colours, so I haven't used any of that on this layout, but I was swapping from one range to another, not even noticing that I was doing so. So I had a good look through all the chipboard pieces that I owned, just so I could have different heights and textures during the layering piece. So I went back to the ticket, see if there's any more that I could add. just to balance them top and bottom. This is the flourish that I'm looking at actually now, but I don't think I actually pick any of that. It's a little bit green for what I was looking for today. Doing this YouTube video, it's actually given me a chance to go through some of my stash and start to store some of the Maggie Holmes actually all together. So it's been well worth sorting things out. So I'll be able to use it all together in the future. So I've gone back to the chipboard now, and I really quite like this large swan. I think it also would be something that could be featured on a carousel, but actually I think it could fit into this layout regardless. So I'm having a little bit of a look at some of the chipboard shapes there and whether they would be useful to fill any other parts of this cluster. So with the chipboard off the 12 by 12 sheet, I tend to peel the sticker off the back, so that way I can move it around the layout without it sticking until I'm actually ready to stick it down. And I find I'm quite an indecisive scrapper, so I can actually move it around without it causing any damage, and then I'll just use some stronger adhesive to add it in. So I'm just looking again at this sheet whether there's anything else I want to add, and I use this little ticket just to slot in at the bottom. So I'm quite pleased with the way things are looking there, and I just add a little tassel or two in, I think. So I've taken the photograph off camera and I've actually sewn it to the background paper, so that was the 5th of the signature style list, so that now I've done all of them. So you can see the square photo that's been stitched down. I've got pattern paper as my background. I've got layered clusters as it's worked their way down, and I've used a cut file, which is the word fun. So I've just speeded this up a little bit. So what I tend to do is lay everything out, and when I'm happy I take a photograph and then I tip it all off and then I stick it down, which is probably twice as much work as it really should be, but it's just the way my process has always been. So I do try and be a little bit more decisive than I used to be, but I kind of enjoy the way I do things at the moment. So so this is me just actually finally sticking things down. They never end up exactly back in the place they were before, but that's okay. It's I've got my photo to refer to if I want to, just to clarify where I had things. So I've been using some foam pads. I've been cutting some of them up there just so I can raise some of the bits and pieces, just to add a little bit more depth. So I just continue to stick things down. There's a tassel there and the stars, just getting them into a position that I'm happy with. Then after going to make myself a cup of tea, I came back and I found this frame, and I decided that I was going to trim it and try and pop it in either side of the photograph. Well, that was the original plan. So I kind of liked the way it looked, but I wasn't totally sure. So I had a think about it. I felt like the kit needed a little bit of something more at the top. So I started to bring a few more things in. I added another ticket. This is a chipboard. And I found a unicorn. It's a metal, like enamel embellishment, and I thought that would sit perfectly at the top right. So I'm still not sure about the frame, and so I leave it off for now, and I just have another look through. I think that pink heart may make it back onto the layout. I've just stuck it to my glass mat while I make some decisions, and I'm having a look at these stickers just to see if there's any last bits and pieces I can add in. I always believe more is more. I add a bow to both the swan and the zebra that make them look really sweet, and a little shenanigans heart to the camera. So off camera I do add the frame, so here's some close-ups of the finished layout. I'm really pleased with the way it looks. Really enjoyed using the Maggie Holmes. I certainly will be using the rest of, well, some more of it again soon. If you like what you see, give this a thumbs up. I'd love you to subscribe to watch more of my videos. Please hop around to see what the other ladies have made, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.